The stars looked peaceful from the outside, but in the black silence of space, something terrible had just happened. One of the Empire's largest supply ships had gone missing. It didn't crash. It didn't send a signal. It simply vanished, like it had never existed. On board the main command ship above Earth, Commander Virex stood stiff. His sharp tail moved behind him as his yellow eyes stared at the empty screen. "How does a ship that big just disappear?" he growled. The officer beside him swallowed hard. It was carrying fuel and soldiers, enough to supply a small invasion fleet. It was there, and now it's not. Virex turned slowly, dangerously calm. Pirates? No signs of damage, no distress signal, no escape pods, just gone. Virex slammed his clawed fist into the table, cracking the metal. "I want answers. I want Earth scanned again. Deep scan, everything. I want to know if they're hiding a fleet." But there was no fleet, no warships, no open army waiting to fight. And yet, Earth had started fighting, in silence. Thousands of miles away, in the dark emptiness of space, a small black ship floated quietly, its engines cold. No lights, no signal, no name. Inside it, 3 shadows sat in silence. They had boarded the supply ship, disabled its crew, planted explosives, and vanished into the dark, all without a sound. Now they waited for the next mission. Inside Earth's secret base, General Merrick stood at the center table, surrounded by his team. Vera was already deep in the system, breaking through another layer of the Empire's comms. Her fingers moved across the controls like dancing shadows. Kale entered the room with a calm expression. "It's done. Ship destroyed. No survivors." Marek nodded. "Good. No noise. No fear." Rin looked up from her small screen. "The Empire will blame pirates. They won't guess the truth yet." "They will soon," Marek said. "We just need a few more days." The shadows had a plan. Not to fight head-on. That would be suicide. The Empire's power was too great. But if they could make the Empire bleed, quietly, constantly, they could break it from the inside. Vera turned from her screen. "We have access to their fleet. Logs. I found another target, an orbital fuel station above Jupiter's moon." "Defense level?" Kyle asked. "Medium," she said. "But the guards are lazy. They think Earth is weak. They're not ready." Marek looked at his team. 2 teams. No witnesses. No signal. "Leave a message." Back in orbit, Commander Virex watched as more reports came in. Another station, offline, another patrol, missing. No battles, no ships on sensors, just silence and fear. "This is not war," he muttered. "This is something else." The crew stared at their commander. Even they were afraid. "Now," one officer whispered, "Sir, what if Earth is using something ancient? Something hidden?" Virex turned to him slowly. "Earth is nothing but dirt and noise. Their weapons are weak. Their ships are junk. But what if they've awakened something?" the officer said. "There are stories about Earth's secret division, about ghosts that kill without being seen." Virex's eyes narrowed. "That's a myth, a fairy tale." But the officer said nothing, because deep down he wasn't sure anymore. In the next few hours, 2 more Empire stations fell silent. No alarms, no survivors. Just one thing left behind every time. A red symbol painted in blood. A circle with a sharp black S slashed through the middle. The mark of the shadows. People across the Empire began to talk. Small voices in dark places. "Earth is fighting back," they whispered. "Not with ships, with something else." On Earth, the media didn't know the truth. The people still thought surrender might be the only way. They didn't know about the quiet war already being won in space. General Marek stood alone for a moment, staring at a picture of an old friend, a shadow who had died in the last war. His voice was soft. "They erased us, buried us, forgot us." Now his eyes were cold, but the shadows remember. Outside the bunker, the wind blew strong across the mountains. Snow covered the peaks. Birds flew freely, not knowing a galactic war had already begun. But in the stars, the Empire was bleeding, and no one could see the knife. Not yet. The Empire's warships now circled Earth like wolves, but they didn't attack. Not yet. Fear had crept into their ranks. Reports kept coming, stations lost, patrols missing, supply ships gone, all without warning, all without a trace. Commander Virex stood in the Empire's main war chamber, claws behind his back, staring at a floating hologram of Earth. "They are doing this," he said, voice low. "Earth is not as weak as we thought." One of his officers, stepped forward, nervous. "We've begun scanning the planet's surface. Again. Still no large military bases. Still no space fleet. No visible resistance." Virex turned slowly. "Then where are the attacks coming from?" Silence. No one answered. Across the stars, fear had spread. Empire soldiers began locking their doors at night. Pilots requested reassignment. Even commanders whispered of the old Earth legends, of humans who trained in silence, who killed without being seen. And now, those stories seemed real. Back on Earth, inside the underground Himalayan base, the shadows prepared for their next strike. General Merrick stood beside a digital map filled with red targets, each one marked with the Empire's key supply lines, communication relays, and fuel depots. "We don't have enough men to destroy them all," Kale said calmly. "But if we hit the right ones, we break their spine," Merrick finished. Vera entered the room, a small glowing device in her hand. "This is a virus," she said. "It'll crawl through their fleet systems, make them see false targets, wrong coordinates, even ghosts." Rin raised an eyebrow. "We're going to make them think they're being attacked everywhere?" Vera nodded. "They won't know what's real. They'll waste fuel, fire at nothing, divide their ships. Total confusion." Merrick gave the order. "Upload it to the satellite net. Let the virus spread." Outside, a shadow drone launched from a secret hangar and vanished into the clouds. It carried no weapons, only the virus. Silent, invisible, deadly. That night, above Earth, the Empire's warships started behaving strangely. One ship turned its cannons toward empty space and fired. Another ship sent an emergency message, claiming it was under attack, but no one was there. Then ships began crashing into each other, confused by fake signals and ghost echoes. Inside the command center, Virex shouted, "What's happening?" "We don't know," his technician replied. "Our systems are seeing attacks that aren't." "There!" Virex's voice roared. "Are we being hacked?" "Impossible. Earth doesn't have the tech." But the officer stopped himself, because now they weren't sure anymore. The shadows were working perfectly. Each move was planned. Each strike was silent. No news, no panic, no mistakes, just results. In the underground base, Kyle returned from a solo mission. His black suit was torn, his shoulder bleeding, but his face showed no pain. "Target destroyed," he said simply. Merrick looked at the wound. "You okay?" Kale nodded. "He shot first. He didn't get a second chance." Vera patched the wound without speaking. There was no room for weakness, no time for rest. Another shadow entered the room, bringing dark news. "The Empire is preparing for full invasion. 30 warships, landing crews, tanks, drones, all headed to major Earth cities." Merrick stared at the red blinking icons now moving across the hologram. "They're done waiting. They think we're just annoying flies. Now they'll crush us with everything." Rin asked, "What do we do?" Merrick's answer was quiet, sharp. "We show them what happens when you corner the shadows." He looked up at the others. "We attack their heart." Everyone went silent. "You mean the command ship?" Vera asked. "The Emperor's personal vessel," Kyle added. "That's suicide." "No," Merrick said. "That's the point. They don't think anyone would dare." He placed his hand on the table, where a single glowing red dot blinked slowly. "We send a message," he said. "This ends with fear. Their fear." Vera nodded slowly. "I'll find a way in." Kyle loaded his gear. "I'll clear the path." Rin checked her weapons. "Let's make them bleed." Above the Earth, the Empire's fleet was preparing for invasion, But deep in the darkness, Earth's shadows were preparing for something else. A strike, a ghost, attack. A reminder to the galaxy that the human spirit, once awakened, does not kneel. It hunts. The galaxy was no longer silent. The shadows had spoken, and every world had heard them. From cold mining planets to rich core systems, people watched the message again and again. The words were clear. The images were sharp. The fear was real. The Empire's control was slipping. In dark chambers across alien worlds, rebels began to stir. Whispers of resistance grew louder. If Earth, just one planet, could strike the Emperor's ship, then maybe the Empire was not a god after all. Maybe it could fall. Back in the Empire's war center, the Emperor stood tall again, wrapped in armor, pain hidden behind layers of metal. His wound had healed, but his pride had not. He roared before his fleet commanders, "This ends now. Burn their world. I want Earth turned to ash." Across the sky, hundreds of warships began to move. It was no longer a threat. It was a full invasion. The Emperor was not coming to scare Earth. He was coming to destroy it. On Earth, General Merrick stared at the incoming fleet with cold eyes. "They're coming with everything," he said. Kyle loaded his rifle. "Then we fight with everything." Rin checked her explosives. "This is the final play." Vera simply smiled. "Let's finish the story." The shadows moved quickly. Secret weapons were activated. Old satellites, forgotten in orbit, turned into cannons. Civilian ships became mobile traps. Hackers from every nation joined the fight, working under the Shadow's command. And then came Earth's secret weapon. From deep under the ocean, a massive object rose. Covered in rust, shaped like a spear, it was older than the Empire itself. It was Earth's ancient warship, codenamed Obsidian Wrath, built in the first space age, hidden for a moment like this. The Obsidian Wrath was not fast, not beautiful, but it had power, raw, brutal power, and the Shadows had reactivated it. When the Emperor's fleet entered Earth's orbit, they expected surrender. What they got was war. The sky lit up. Obsidian Wrath fired its main cannon, cutting through 3 warships with one blast. Empire drones flew down, only to be hacked mid-air and turned back against their masters. Shadows leapt from hidden tunnels, attacking landing forces with precision. Explosions rocked the beaches. Smoke rose from forests. In the cities, Earth's people did not run. They fought, united, fierce, relentless. Kyle led the strike on the Empire's ground base, clearing wave after wave with sharp movements and no fear. Rin blew up a fuel ship mid-air, raining fire on enemy tanks. Vera disappeared into the Emperor's secondary command ship. And there, she found him again. This time, he was ready. He swung with a burning sword, his eyes filled with fury. But Vera was not afraid. She moved like a shadow, quick, clean, silent. The fight was brutal. Sparks flew, metal clashed. Then, in a final move, she drove her blade deep into his chest. "You wanted Earth to kneel," she whispered. He gasped, falling. "And now, you bow to us." She left his body in the command chair, the Empire's flag burning behind him. Outside, Marek received the final signal. "It's over," he said into the open channel. "The Emperor is dead. The fleet is broken. Earth stands." The message was sent across the stars. Every planet heard it. Every species listened. And for the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy was free to choose. Some cheered, some cried, some picked up weapons and joined rebellions on their own worlds. But all remembered the same thing, a single planet. One world, surrounded by enemies, refused to kneel, refused to break, refused to be forgotten. And when the galaxy mocked them, they sent the Shadows. Now, the Empire was gone. But the Shadows remained, watching, waiting, protecting Earth, and reminding the stars, in darkness humans shine the brightest, and no one, no matter how powerful, should ever threaten their home again. The sky above Earth turned dark as a shadow passed over the planet. A massive alien ship, shaped like a black crescent moon, blocked the sun. It was bigger than anything humans had ever seen, cold, silent, and terrifying. Every screen on Earth suddenly flickered. Then came the message. The Emperor of the Galactic Empire, tall and dressed in golden armor, appeared. His voice echoed in every language. You have 7 days. Kneel or be wiped out. The world went quiet. In New York, the president's face turned pale. In Beijing, generals shouted orders. Across the globe, leaders gathered in panic. Earth was not ready. They had some warships, a few space stations, and scattered defense systems, but nothing that could face a galactic empire. People feared this was the end. Families cried, scientists prayed, soldiers loaded their weapons without hope. But while the world panicked, deep under the cold rocks of the Himalayas, in a forgotten bunker no map showed, something else was happening. A single red light blinked inside a dark chamber. The walls were metal, old, dusty, but alive. The light turned green. A soft voice whispered through the silence. Protocol 77. Shadow Unit reactivation. Inside the chamber, 6 long glass tubes hissed open. Shadows moved. Men and women, dressed in black, opened their eyes slowly. No emotion, no fear. A tall man stepped forward. His name was General Merrick. His face was full of scars. His eyes were like ice, cold and sharp. He looked at the others, and they nodded. No words needed. Far away, cameras inside the Pentagon showed the Emperor's message again. The Earth's leaders argued. What do we do? We can't win. We must kneel. No, someone shouted. We fight. But they had no real plan, no real hope. Back in the bunker, Merrick stood before a large screen. Old data flashed. Pictures of the Empire's ships, its generals, its weak points. He watched calmly, then said, It's time. A younger woman stepped beside him. Her name was Vera. She was a cyber ghost, someone who could hack any system with her mind. They think we're gone, she said with a small smile. They think we were erased. Another man, tall and silent, loaded weapons, knives, lasers, grenades. He didn't speak, but his actions were clear. The shadows had returned. Years ago, they had been Earth's most secret weapon. A team trained not for war, but for silent war. Assassinations, sabotage, mind infiltration. They were the last resort. But after a secret mission went wrong, they were blamed and buried. Not killed, just hidden, frozen in time under the earth. Now they were free. Marek walked through the cold halls of the base. Old photos hung on the walls, pictures of people who had died fighting the Empire in secret. He paused before one. They killed them all, he whispered. And now they want Earth to kneel. He turned to his team. We don't kneel. They all smiled. In the Empire's ship above Earth, the alien commanders laughed. They saw Earth's little weapons and weak ships. They are nothing, one said. We will crush them like bugs. But as they laughed, their communication screens flickered. Static. Then, a message appeared on every Empire screen. We see you. We are coming. From the shadows. The Empire commander frowned. What is this? But before he could answer, one of their own scout ships exploded. No signal, no warning. Just gone. On Earth, the shadows moved. They didn't walk in the open. They used secret tunnels, dark skies, and silent tech. One by one, they activated old systems the world had forgotten. Underground bases, hidden satellites, deep code viruses waiting for one command. General Merrick watched the stars. They gave us 7 days, he said. Vera smiled again. They won't last 3. Somewhere in space, another Empire ship exploded. The war hadn't started yet, but the shadows had. And this time, Earth was not alone. Earth had ghosts, silent, deadly, angry. The countdown had begun. Inside the cold metal walls of the hidden base, everything moved with purpose. There was no panic here, only silence and discipline. The shadows, once buried by Earth's own governments, were now fully awake. They didn't need orders. They knew what had to be done. General Merrick stood in the command room staring at a large circular screen showing Earth's orbit. The massive alien ship still hovered there, casting a long shadow across continents. People down below lived in fear, but Marek's eyes held no fear, only memory. They think we're weak, he said softly. They forgot what we are. At his side, Vera linked her mind to an old Earth satellite grid. Her eyes turned bright blue as data flowed into her brain. She could see the alien ship's energy points, its weak comm links, its heat signals. They're overconfident, she said, half smiling. That's their mistake. Far below, in another room, a young shadow named Kale cleaned his old rifle. It had been locked away for years, like him. Kale had been recruited at 16, raised in silence, trained to disappear in plain sight. He didn't speak much, but when he did, others listened. "How many of us are left?" Kyle asked, voice low. 13 active, answered Rin, a sharp-eyed woman with twin pistols on her hips. "More are sleeping, hidden around the world. Once we give the signal, they'll join." Kale nodded. "Then we begin." Meanwhile, in the Empire ship above Earth, Commander Virex stared at the screen. "Still no surrender," he growled. "How long must we wait?" An officer replied, "2 more days, sir. Then we attack." Virex's claws tapped the metal table. "Good. I want to watch their cities burn. I want to see them kneel in the ashes." But just as he spoke, a red alert blinked on the screen. One of their outer drones had gone offline. Then another. Then 2 more. "What is this?" Virex shouted. "Who's attacking?" "No ships detected," the officer said. "No missiles. No signs." And then, static filled the room. Their screens flickered again. The same message as before returned, glowing red across every panel. "We are the shadows. We were made. For war. You trained us. When you thought Earth was yours." Virex stood frozen. "What does that mean?" No one answered. Back on Earth, Vera pulled away from the data stream. Her head hurt from too much input, but she was smiling. "We found their back door," she said. "Their communication system was built using stolen Earth tech from 50 years ago. They copied our code, but never understood it." Marek nodded. "Can we break it?" "Already inside," she said. "They'll hear what we want them to hear." Just then, a light beeped. A shadow operative from Africa sent a signal. "Supply ship intercepted. Cargo secured. No witnesses." Another from Antarctica. "Relay station neutralized. Enemy. Blind in southern orbit." The messages came fast. Quiet, clean, perfect. Each team moving like ghosts. No errors, no noise. In the Empire ship, Virex's fury grew. His own crew couldn't explain what was happening. Systems were going dark. Scans weren't working. Soldiers were nervous. "It's Earth," he shouted. "They've hidden something." But even he didn't believe it. Earth wasn't supposed to have anything. No secret army, no real defense. And yet, the attacks continued. Inside the Himalayas base, the shadows prepared for their next strike. General Marek walked through the hall where armor and suits were stored. He stopped beside a black uniform with red stripes. "This was mine," he said quietly. Kyle looked at him. "You're going back in." Marek turned, his face hard. "They took everything from us once. They used us, then buried us. Now they want Earth to kneel." He put on the uniform. "I say we bury them." The shadows all stood. One by one they saluted, not with words, just hands to chest and eyes locked in silent promise. Outside, the winds howled through the Himalayas, but inside, the true storm had just begun. The world still didn't know about the shadows. The Earth's leaders still begged for mercy. But far above them and deep below, a silent war had already started. Not with armies, not with ships, with ghosts. The countdown to the Empire's destruction had truly begun, and this time, the shadows were writing the end. The Empire's command ship, the Oathbreaker, was the size of a city. Floating above Earth's orbit, it looked unstoppable, covered in armor, defended by drones, and protected by hundreds of elite guards. No enemy had ever set foot on it, until Lanny. Now. In the cold dark of space, A small black pod approached the giant ship, hidden behind debris. It gave off no heat, no signal, and no light. Inside were three shadows: Kale, Rin, and Vera. Kale checked his rifle, his voice low. "We only get one chance." "We don't need to," Rin replied, sliding a thin blade into her boot. Vera stayed silent, focused on the controls. The pod latched onto the underside of the command ship with a soft click. No alarms, no sound, just shadows moving in silence. Within minutes, they cut through the hull and slipped inside. The ship's hallway was dark, quiet, and smelled like metal and oil. Empire soldiers passed nearby, but the shadows stayed hidden, using stolen access codes and old knowledge. They had trained for this. The Empire had once taught them how to kill. Now, that lesson was coming back like a knife to the throat. Back on Earth, General Merrick watched a live feed from a secure satellite. He could see the pod's position and feel the tension. If they failed, Earth would burn. If they succeeded, the galaxy would never forget. "They're in," he whispered. "Now it begins." Inside the Oathbreaker, the three shadows split up. Kale moved toward the reactor chamber, planting explosives. Rin headed to the drone bay to shut down defense systems. Vera took the most dangerous path, toward the Emperor's private command room. She moved like smoke, her small device glowing faintly as it hacked the inner locks. Behind each door was another risk, another guard. But no one saw her, until someone did. A tall Empire warrior stepped out from the corner, gun raised. Vera didn't panic. She moved low and fast. The shot missed. Her blade flashed once, clean, silent, final. She kept going. Elsewhere, Kale finished placing the last charge. He tapped his comm. "Done. 10 minutes. Rin's voice came through. "Next." "Drone bay offline. They're blind." Back in the command room, the Emperor stood with Commander Virex. They stared at Earth through the large glass window. "Ready the landing troops," the Emperor said. "We crush them now." But Virex looked uneasy. "Something feels wrong. Too quiet. No resistance. No surrender." "They have nothing left," the Emperor said with disgust. "They are broken." Just then, the lights flickered. A warning. Tone echoed through the room. "Unauthorized entry detected in the core level." Virex turned, shouting orders. "Seal the ship! Find them!" But it was too late. Vera stood in the shadows of the command room now, high above the guards on the steel rafters. She activated her device and spoke into the ship's speakers. Her voice echoed across the vessel. "You warned Earth to kneel. Now feel what wakes in the dark." Then everything happened fast. The charges exploded deep in the engine core. Power systems failed. Lights went out. Defense drones collapsed. Rin's hack spread through the ship's systems like fire. Vera dropped from the rafters in silence, landing between the Emperor and Virex. Both reached for their weapons, but she was faster. Her blade struck the Emperor's side. He fell with a roar of pain. Virex swung wildly, but Kale burst in through the door and shot twice. Both shots hit. Virex collapsed. Guards stormed in seconds later, but it was too late. Vera threw down a small object, a glowing Earth symbol, surrounded by the black mark of the shadows. The message was clear. Then all three shadows jumped out the emergency shaft, flying into space, caught by a retrieval drone, moments before the ship's backup systems came back online. Back in the Himalayan base, Merrick saw the signal. A green light. They made it. The room erupted in quiet celebration. But Merrick raised a hand. "This isn't victory," he said. "This is a warning." Above Earth, the Oathbreaker drifted powerless, its leader wounded, its pride shattered. Across the Empire, fear spread faster than light. Who were these humans? How did they reach the heart of the strongest warship? What else were they hiding? In the cold silence of space, the shadows had spoken. And now the galaxy was listening. The Emperor was alive, but broken. He lay in a secure chamber deep within the Oathbreaker, his wound wrapped in glowing alien mesh. His golden armor was cracked. His eyes burned with rage. But behind that rage was fear. No one had ever touched him before. No one had ever dared enter his ship. Until the humans did. Commander Virex stood beside the bed, his shoulder in a sling, his pride shattered. He spoke carefully. "We've locked down the command ship. The invaders escaped, but we now know. Earth is behind it." The Emperor's voice was weak, but full of venom. "They sent ghosts to kill me." Virex nodded. "They call themselves the Shadows. We found their mark burned into our systems. Their tech, it's advanced. Too advanced for Earth." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "Then someone is helping them." "No," Virex said. "We checked. No other species is involved. This is pure human. All of it." That silence in the room was heavier than gravity. The Empire had underestimated Earth, and now they were paying the price. Across the stars, news spread like wildfire. The Emperor wounded, the flagship attacked. Whispers of human shadows who walk unseen filled every cantina, ship deck, and council room. The galaxy had mocked Earth just days ago. Now, they feared it. Meanwhile, inside the hidden Earth base, General Merrick stood before a new mission map. It was covered in blinking lights, all Empire targets. But this time, they weren't just going after ships or stations. Now, they were going after the Empire's voice. Rin leaned forward, scanning the intel. "They use a galactic beacon near Tauron system. It sends propaganda and orders across the entire Empire." Kale added, "Take out that beacon, and their lies stop. They can't cover up their weakness anymore." Marek nodded. "We hit it. We make sure the whole galaxy hears the truth." Vera smiled. "We won't need stealth for this. We want them to see us." For the first time, the Shadows would attack in full daylight. They didn't want silence. They wanted witnesses. Above the Tauron system, the Empire's broadcasting station floated between two blue suns. It was protected by heavy cannons, shield drones, and a full squadron of fighters. But no one expected Earth to attack. Not here. Not loud. The Shadows came in fast. 3 black ships appearing from warp, flying low and deadly. Kale led the strike, weaving between defense cannons. With ease, Rin fired EMP blasts that shut down turrets mid-turn. Vera's ship broke through the upper dome, landing hard inside the main control deck. She stepped out alone, smoke rising behind her, and faced the shocked guards. "You lied to the galaxy," she said coldly. "We're here to correct that." Blades flashed, sparks flew. Within minutes, the station's crew was disabled. The Shadows took control of the broadcast system. Vera stood before the camera, her face half covered by her black helmet. She pressed record. "To the people of the galaxy," she began, "this is Earth. You were told we were weak. You were told we would kneel." The screen showed the mark of the Shadows, an S slashed through a red circle. "But we are not kneeling. We are rising. The Empire tried to crush us. They wounded our world. They killed our people." Her voice grew sharper. "So we sent a message. One ship, one mission, straight into their heart. Your Emperor bleeds. His ship was not safe. His throne shakes. And we are just beginning." Then the video showed images, real footage from the assault on the Oathbreaker. The Emperor falling, the Shadows escaping, the symbol painted in blood. Across the stars, millions watched the transmission in shock and fear. On distant mining worlds, slaves stopped working to stare at the screen. On quiet colony planets, citizens whispered in awe. Even in the Empire's core systems, fear grew. They reached the Emperor. No fleet, no army, just shadows. The message ended with Vera's final words. "We are not afraid. You should be." Then the station exploded, set to self-destruct by Rin. The Shadows disappeared into warp once more, leaving only fire and truth behind. Back on the Oathbreaker, the Emperor watched the message in silence. His claws clenched, his jaw tightened. "Kill them," he whispered. "Kill them all." But his voice no longer sounded powerful. It sounded desperate. Because now the galaxy knew the truth. Earth wasn't begging for mercy. It was hunting for justice. And the Shadows were leading. "The way you said,